Hello there guys, welcome back to the Stamford Voice for the Fermín López to Chelsea breaking news, the Christopher Nkunku Xavi Simons Leipzig conundrum, Bayern interest in Nicolas Jackson, and Alejandro Garnacho move to Chelsea, and finally the official Carney Chukwuemeka move to Borussia Dortmund. Now, today we got a big breaking news concerning Chelsea's interest in Fermín López. Fermín López is a Barcelona player who plays as an attacking number 10 or winger. For most part of the season, he played as a rotational player, but he still managed to get a couple of goals. I think 8 goals or something like that, and a couple of assists. Now, let's see what has been said about Fermín López. And here is David Ornstein. Now, David Ornstein says, Chelsea evaluating possibility of a move for Fermín López. No contact yet with Barcelona, but CFC speaking to 22-year-old attacking midfielders camp as options explode in case of exits and given FC Barcelona depth in Spain international's position, reports The Athletic. Now, this has come as a big surprise because we know very well that Chelsea are looking at attacking options, and the attacking options that Chelsea are looking at is Alejandro Garnacho and Xavi Simons. Now, so coming out and Chelsea showing strong and concrete interest in Fermín López is quite surprising, but I would say it's more of expected, because we have had over time that Chelsea has always been interested in Morgan Rogers, but now Aston Villa have made it quite clear that they are not interested in selling Morgan Rogers. So I think it makes sense for Chelsea to go and look at a different attacking profile as we see in Fermín López. And I think the reason why Chelsea are interested in Fermín López is because they were actually interested in another attacking player other than Ale Garnacho and Xavi Simons, and that player was Morgan Rogers. But Aston Villa has kept insisting that they are not interested in selling Morgan Rogers. So I think there is a huge possibility that Fermín López comes to Chelsea, but it's surprising because we have heard that for Chelsea to bring in new players, they have to sell players. Now, the two players that we have been waiting for to come to Chelsea is Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho. Now, the reason why these two players have not come is because Chelsea has not managed to sell either Christopher Nkunku or Nicolas Jackson. So, if we sell, let's say, Nicolas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku, then we bring in Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho, then who do we sell so that we bring in Fermín López? I mean, that is something that I guess only the owners and the directors know. Now, before we move on, because I mentioned Chelsea need to sell players so that they can buy players. There is a conundrum going on involving RB Leipzig. And this conundrum is, let me read for you what has been said about RB Leipzig in relation to Christopher Nkunku and the one Xavi Simon. Now, David Ornstein says, last week, RB Leipzig stepped up talks about a permanent deal for Christopher Nkunku that could hold the key to whether Xavi Simons' proposed Chelsea switch occurs. If Nkunku does not move to Leipzig, it could prove detrimental to Simons joining Chelsea. Now, I think that's a little bit contradictory because we know, yes, Chelsea needs to move on some players so that they can buy. So we expected that once Chelsea sells Christopher Nkunku, they're able now to bring in Xavi Simons. Once Chelsea sells Nicolas Jackson, then we are able to bring in Nicolas Jackson. But now, when it is said that if RB Leipzig does not buy Christopher Nkunku, it becomes a problem for Xavi Simons. I'm a bit surprised because Christopher Nkunku is an attacking player with many suitors. So I'm imagining if another club can buy Christopher Nkunku, then the Xavi Simons move should still remain intact. So I don't know what's happening with that story of RB Leipzig having to buy Christopher Nkunku in order for Chelsea to buy Xavi Simons. I don't get the logic in that. Now, let's move on to the Nicolas Jackson story, because now we know very well that we need to move on Nicolas Jackson so that we can bring in Alejandro Garnacho. And now that we have that target in Fermín López, it means these two specific moves becomes very critical, because obviously we have made another sale in the last 24 hours, which I will talk about in the end of this video. But the sale of Christopher Nkunku and Nicolas Jackson are quite important in the attempts to bring in Xavi Simons, Alejandro Garnacho, and now Fermín López. Now, here is what Fabrizio Romano said about Nicolas Jackson in the last few hours. Now, Fabrizio Romano said, revealed, Bayern keep calling to get Nico Jackson on initial loan with buy clause. Club-to-club contacts have started. Okay. So, Bayern Munich are now coming for Nicolas Jackson. But the problem with Bayern Munich is, one, they have been told they cannot bring in players on a permanent move. So any movement for a player to Bayern Munich has to be a loan. Now, as a Chelsea fan, I don't have any issue with Nicolas Jackson moving to Bayern Munich on a loan. But it has to be a loan with an obligation to buy, or a loan with a transfer fee of about 10 million, because this Bayern Munich is a big club. They have money. So these jokes of taking our players on loan, you know, first of all, we have to appreciate the fact that Harry Kane is the starting striker in Bayern Munich. So if Jackson is moving to Bayern Munich, he is either going to be a second striker, or is just going to sit on the bench. So if they take Nicolas Jackson on a buy option clause, and then Nicolas Jackson sits on the bench, that means his value does not go up. Bayern Munich does not see any importance in keeping the player, and in the end, they will end up returning the player back to Chelsea with lower value, and we don't want that. So if Bayern Munich wants to get Nicolas Jackson, they should get an obligation to buy or pay a substantial loan fee. That will be fine with me. Now let's move on to the next story, because over time we know Alejandro Garnacho is headed to Chelsea. Now here is the Alejandro Garnacho update to Chelsea. Fabrizio Romano says, Alejandro Garnacho and Chelsea deal remains very advanced, with all parties expected it to happen. Garnacho has rejected a new approach from Saudi Pro League in the last 48 hours. He only wants Chelsea as destination. Now, this is basic. This is pure. We have known the possible move of Alejandro Garnacho for quite a long time. I think by the end of this week, by the time we are getting to 1st of September, I think Alejandro Garnacho is going to be a Chelsea player. So I don't expect any much fuss on Alejandro Garnacho. I think once we sell Christopher Nkunku, we sell Nicolas Jackson, and this other player I'm going to mention now that we have already completed their move for, Alejandro Garnacho will come to Chelsea, Xavi Simons will come to Chelsea, and possibly Fermín López. Now, Carney Chukwuemeka. Here is the report on Carney Chukwuemeka. Fabrizio Romano says, official, confirmed. Carney Chukwuemeka joins Borussia Dortmund on permanent deal from Chelsea. Contract until June 2030. Now, Chelsea just pocketed around £20 million for Carney Chukwuemeka, and based on the fact that we bought Carney Chukwuemeka for around 20 million euros in the last maybe 3 years, I think Chelsea have made quite some profit already on this particular sale, and are much likely to make even more profit when we consider the sell-on clauses that has been put there. So we have been told Chelsea have put on a sell-on clause on the Carney Chukwuemeka deal. Now, that is the end of our video. Tell me what your opinion is on the possible Fermín López move to Chelsea, and see you in the next one. Bye.